Hi Tom, thanks for joining us as we
Pleasure.
quickly approach a year of your chairmanship at Nottingham Forest. How's it been?
Well, it's gone quickly, that's for sure. I wasn't realising it was as quick as that, but what an amazing year it's been. An honour, a privilege, at times also quite a stressful time. I've learnt a lot about myself and the football club during that 12 months, but I think if we look at the achievements in the last 12 months, it's been exciting and we've done a lot. So really proud to be talking today about the first year in office.
And what have the club achieved in the past year, or coming up to a year?
Well, Mr Marinakis has made it very clear to me that the football club needed to be proud of being a Premier League club on and off the pitch. And I think we've seen progress in terms of the football side. We've invested heavily in the facilities to allow the first team and the support and the academy, and we'll talk a little bit about the women's team, to progress. So they've got the facilities they now need to progress as a football side. And we've also addressed a lot of things off the field, looking both as Nottingham Forest in the community, in terms of our responsibility as a Premier League club in the city, but also our responsibility to the fans and how we've engaged. And there's been a lot of work, I think, that we'll talk about today, I'm sure, in that fan engagement piece, because again, when I came into office, I wanted to make sure Mr Marinakis' legacy, his investment, which is incredible, is delivered, but also that the fans understood a little bit more about how the football club runs, and I think that's one of the key achievements.
And can you tell me a bit more about that investment that's been going on and off the pitch here at the City Ground?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, the first thing we should say is I think we should be the envy of many football clubs. We've got an owner that cares, his family, his son, his joint owner, they live and breathe Nottingham Forest. There's probably not a day where I don't get 5 or 10 messages asking about how we're improving as a football club and the successes and achievements that we're doing. And that comes down to his personal investment in the football club, which stands at many hundreds of millions. And he doesn't want to stand still. He doesn't think we've achieved our visions and our objectives yet. So again, a lot of it comes down to the finances. So let's talk about a couple of those areas. First of all, the infrastructure. So we've invested in new lounges and new spaces for analysts, new media, new seating for general admission, and improve the fan experience, because we're very mindful that people spend a lot of money coming to watch the football and they want a day out experience, and we have a responsibility to deliver that. So there's a big investment in the infrastructure of the ground. But also alongside that, his money and his passion is to make sure that the football club reaches out into communities as far as wide as we can. So the women's football team, the women's netball team, they're all statements of investments that we've made during the course of this year that sit alongside the infrastructure. And then the final thing that perhaps people don't see as much is the investment in people. And if we look back and now to where we are 12 months later, we've been joined by many new colleagues with different skills, different understanding of how to be a Premier League football club. So we've invested heavily in terms of new recruitment and how our proposition as an employer of choice in the city is. So football, non-football, infrastructure and people is big key areas we've invested in.
You talked a bit about the work in the community that's going on behind the scenes. And obviously a lot of fans will know about the Vision for Sport project that's been going on. Can you just elaborate a bit on that and what that entails?
Yeah, I think what we all understood, and particularly Mr Marinakis realised, is that the Premier League is probably the greatest show on earth, and it brings a huge amount of attention, and it also, because of that, has a lot of opportunity to influence society and people. And at the same time as our successes, we also acknowledge that the City of Nottingham has had its challenges, but also society post-COVID has had its challenges, and is there an opportunity for kids and adults to engage more in the football club to their own benefit physically and mentally? So there's some initiatives that people have seen, for example, the great work Harry Toffolo and the team have done around mental health and how the football club can engage with people and perhaps at low stages that need some support. We've also had here in the new museum a cancer drop-in space that we're now beginning to use with Maggie's, a great charity. So how do we use the football club as a physical and mental health piece, but also alongside that, when we launched with the then Prime Minister Rishi Sunak the Vision for Sport, that was about making sure that the wider county, not just the city, the county of Nottinghamshire, really engaged with the football club and benefited from this Premier League brand that we're so successfully building. So that's about making sure every school child, every adult who wants to participate in activity, not just football, can get an opportunity. And over the course of the next couple of months, with our partners E.ON, we're going to be doing some more announcements about how that is going to start to come to life. And obviously with the women's sport as well, sitting alongside that.
If we just talk a bit about away from football at the minute.
Yep.
We obviously launched our Nottingham Forest netball team, set to launch in 2025. How exciting is that project?
Well, it's very exciting. I think some people saw it as a bit of a curveball. I'm learning rapidly about the game of netball, but I think if we take a serious point. You know, netball is probably one of the highest participating sports for girls and women in the UK. Nottingham didn't have a professional or established team. We were offered the opportunity to participate in the new netball season in 2025-26. And when you actually marry that up to the vision of sport, we've now got the ability to take Nottingham Forest into a different area of Nottinghamshire to provide pathways for girls and women into hopefully what will become the new professional era of netball. And it just became a very exciting proposition. And we were lucky that we were partnered up very quickly with the technical director, Karen, who introduced us to Chelsea, the manager. And her brand has brought an energy, and she's brought players alongside her. So we're not just going into it to have some fun, we're going in it to win it. That's the mantra of this football club and this Mr. Marinakis. Everything we do, whether it's netball, football, on or off the pitch, we're here to succeed and be ambitious and grow. So we're going to enter that, hopefully at the Motorpoint Arena, providing another way that people can support Nottingham Forest.
And we've seen significant investment, you know, on the pitch, but also off the pitch. We've had new improvements to the fan zone. We've had the museum. I mean, we're doing all of this to make the fan experience better, aren't we?
Yeah, as I say, the legacy he asked me to ensure was that the fans understood and participated in the football club as best as they possibly could. So if we go back through the year, we obviously started with the fan zone, which was a great addition. I know it's a big phenomenon now to get people together in outdoor spaces, and we felt that we wanted to get people down to the City Ground earlier. We're going to re-energise the programme of activity this season in the fan zone, making sure people meet former and existing players and all the excitement that goes with it. So we delivered that. We invested heavily in a space underneath the Trent End, which is the museum space, which forms now part of our stadium tours, and there's probably people walking past the door now. And I think we just looked on the way in, over 4,000 people have managed to have a tour so far since we've launched that. And that gives fans the chance to see behind the scenes. Tickets are hard to come by, not available for everybody all the time, but actually being able to come and walk the ground, go to the museum, relive some of those brilliant memories, the Collymore goals and the Stuart Pearce and the European Cup wins and things in the comfort of the City Ground was one of our promises. So fan zone, museum, tours, we want to do more of that to make sure every age of Forest fan, from the new fan that maybe can't get into the ground to older, can enjoy the Nottingham Forest experience.
And there's improvements going on as we speak to the City Ground. What can fans expect to see when they come for our first home game against Bournemouth? Well,
again, it's all about making sure we're as proud as we can be of our home. It's about investing in facilities, providing better spaces for fans, more seating, better TV screens, making everybody Premier League proud of the City Ground. And much has been talked about in the press this year about do we stay or do we go. We're constantly having this sort of noise in the background, but the absolute clarity myself and Mr. Marinakis are working to is to stay and grow this stadium with the council's support to be the right size that we want it to be. We're not going to leave it and wait and see. We're going to continue to invest in it. So all the things you've just described are part of continual investment in the infrastructure of the football club.
Can you just provide the fans a little update on safe standing here at the City Ground as well?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of work going across the ground over the summer. One of the first things we did was actually look at safe standing. And over the last 2 or 3 years, we've been aware that pockets of the ground have been standing, and it's caused us quite a lot of safety issues, and quite rightly the councils have challenged us to say this ground is not a standing ground. We need to encourage people to sit, which is not an easy thing to do. But obviously over the summer we've put in over 2,500 safe standing seats, if you want to call it that, which provide, perhaps like many other clubs, an ability for fans to relocate to those spaces to stand and enjoy the football in a more safe way rather than perhaps standing over the back of an old seat. So I think when we look at the stadium redevelopment going forward, there's a conversation to have with the Fan Advisory Board about what is the percentage of safe standing, because it's not for everybody. So there's still a dynamic to work through, but again, it's another investment. It wasn't cheap. Another significant investment by the owner in making the City Ground the best version of itself as it can be for the fans.
And you touched on it slightly there, but can you provide a bit of an update on the future of the City Ground?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always difficult because when these slightly complicated projects take place, there's lots of different stakeholders and you can't constantly keep people updated. And as much as it's tempting to respond to every news article or respond to every Twitter post, it's very difficult. But the clear progress has been made over the course of the season, that we've made really good progress working with the City Council and the officers there about how do we buy the freehold and what does that mean. Working on the planning side of the new stand, the Peter Taylor stand, we've made some significant progress. And more recently, we made the statements, Mr. Marinakis and I both have, which is to stay here, we want to see the ground grow again. And again, we're having good conversations with Rushcliffe Council about staying and growing the stadium still further. So there's no deal to move. There's nothing, no conspiracy theories happening. But we are aware, like any family growing in a house, every so often you have to extend your house to make it more relevant for the next period of time. And we're in the middle of that. So fans should just take, reassurance. They should come back into the ground full of excitement for the new season. And I think when fans come in and see the work we've done to the ground, they see the progress on the pitch. The players, I think, are looking as fit and ready as they ever have been. And I think we should really get into the supporting side and get stuck in and support the club this season.
Have you actually had any time to look at the football side of the club this summer?
Well, it's been a really tough year. I mean, I wasn't quite expecting that the summer would be as busy as the season. So whoever says there's an off season in football is completely wrong. But in the last few weeks, I've been heavily involved in the women's side going full time, which I think is a brilliant statement of intent. People may have noticed that at the same time as other clubs, which I won't mention the names of, are reducing budgets in their women's team and actually downgrading their side. Our owner has made it really clear that he wants the team to progress, look for promotions. We're two divisions away from the top flight. And by doing that, he first and foremost wanted the team to be playing here at the City Ground. So the women's team will be playing their home matches here, and I'd encourage everybody who perhaps can't get access to the tickets normally to come down, see the City Ground, support the women's team, because they're on a upward trajectory, and a lot of the players they're signing have come from Championship and Women's Super League levels, and I think we're going to put together a really competitive team this year. So it's a great moment to be celebrating women's sport, not just from netball but from football as well. Alongside that, obviously being down at the training ground, I think it's incredible to see the buzz and energy down at the ground. And I think that idea that I'm learning myself, but that's a core group that have now stuck together for a couple of seasons almost. And you can see that camaraderie, that energy. They went to Spain, hot weather, double training sessions. I'm sure they learned a lot about each other and individually, collectively being away for 10 days. But going down there, I love watching because the guys are laughing, they're having fun. There's camaraderie in the team. The manager is bringing them together as a group. Add a couple more perhaps. I think it's really exciting time to be watching both the men's and the women's football teams, because I think they're prepared, they've got the facilities, they've got the energy, the camaraderie, and I think, as I say from the start, we should be incredibly proud and very lucky. There should be many clubs, I'm sure, look at ours right now and think, wow, look at the progress they're making. I wish my club was on the same journey. So really successfully, hopefully seeing a lot of success on the football pitch on the back of all that great summer work that's been done.